Hey everybody, it's good to be back here on YouTube. It's been a little while since I made a video. As y'all know, I try to get on here as consistently as possible, but life is life. Things happen. Lots happened. A whole lot's happened since the last time I did a video. I'm just going to touch upon a few things that have happened. Obviously, we had the presidential debates a few weeks ago. It was pretty chaotic. I've seen some crazy debates. That one is by far the craziest debate I've seen. I'm not really sure who won that one. I think Trump made some interesting points, but he talked over Joe Biden a lot and didn't let him get a word in edgewise. Joe Biden, I guess the winning on his side was that he looked, he looked somewhat calm, or he looked a little more at ease, if you will. But I still don't know what his policies are. He's very quiet about some very significant issues. Uh, you know, when it comes to stuff like packing the courts and ending the filibuster, these are fundamental issues that Americans care about, and he's deliberately being vague and not giving straight answers. So, I say that last debate was somewhat of a draw. The vice presidential debate was very good. For Mike Pence, I did not think Kamala did well at all. Mike Pence just stuck to the facts, really talked about how, you know, he not only explained what the president's policies are, but explained the practicality of them as well. I think Kamala Harris was trying very hard to try to drudge up emotion from people. Uh, but she's had quite a few fact checkers on the left who have fact checked a lot of the things that she said during that debate, and many of them were not accurate. I just did not think it was a good performance by her at all. But but that's where I stand on that. And now we had the situation where the president contracted COVID, and now, according to his doctors, he's immune. So just recapping some of the things that have happened since the last time I did a video. But the reason why I'm doing this video is not to talk about politics in that regard. I really want to talk about the talk about the issue of this Roe v. Wade thing going on, especially with the confirmations of Amy Coney Barrett, and this is very important. You realize, and I've watched the confirmation hearings for the most part. I've watched about 75% of them, and the Democrats, a fundamental issue that Democrats have is this idea that if Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed, that she's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, if she does overturn Roe v. Wade, then it would become a state issue. Just the Supreme Court overturning the Roe v. Wade ruling doesn't change the way the states run their states. We are the United States of America. We're not the United. We're not just a country. We're not just one country that lives under a broad brush. Each state would still have control about what they would do concerning Roe v. Wade. So this idea she's going to come in and destroy the court, that's not accurate. That's not how that works. There are 9 people on the Supreme Court, not one. Putting one justice in the Supreme Court doesn't change everything. So that's the reason why you have 9 people. And of course, some people are trying to call this court packing because, it feels like they're rushing this. It feels like it's forced. Well, that's not court packing. Court packing is not filling a vacancy. Filling a vacancy is what's happening right now. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and Amy Coney Barrett has become the president has the right to nominate someone. It's constitutional what is happening. It's not unconstitutional. And that's really the core of it here. If it was an unconstitutional act, then I'd be against it. It's not an unconstitutional act. So that's that. But once again, the focus of this video is the issue of abortion. And this is the issue that the Democrats have really been harping on strongly. They've been seriously focused on this issue of Roe v. Wade and talking about women's reproductive rights and things of that nature. Now, something I really want people to understand here and especially when it comes to the black community, is we have allowed ourselves to be conned by the left. We have allowed ourselves to be conned by the progressive media. This idea of Planned Parenthood and abortion being something that communities of color, because that's always their pitch. It's not just women. It's minority communities really need access to reproductive rights. And when I say reproductive rights, they're talking about abortion. They're not talking about birth control. Okay, you can go down to CVS and get birth control for like $5. All right, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about abortion. Now, this for me is always an extremely troubling issue because abortion was never created for the reproductive rights of black women. It wasn't created for the reproductive rights of Hispanics. It's a lie. It's a complete lie. You want to know the history of Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger, when she created Planned Parenthood, one of her driving principles for Planned Parenthood was to exterminate the Negro population. She believed that there were those who had the fundamental right to reproduce and those who didn't. And for her, the black community, communities of color, non-white communities didn't have the right to reproduce. That is the founding principle of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger was a vicious racist. A horrible woman who consistently gave speeches at KKK rallies. She was a staunch Democrat who despised people of color. And this is the person that Hillary Clinton said she admired greatly? This is the platform of the Democrat Party? Planned Parenthood is one of the fundamental principles of the Democrat Party. And this is the core of Planned Parenthood. They push this organization on communities of color. I believe it's something like 77% of Planned Parenthood facilities are in minority communities or low-income communities. That's where that's where these centers are put. See, it wasn't just communities of color. It was those who were poor. The poor also didn't deserve to reproduce, as far as she was concerned. This is a woman in Margaret Sanger, who had great ties to the practice of eugenics. Now, I'm not going to go into all the history of eugenics, but for those of you who understand where Hitler stood when it came to these kinds of things, y'all know what I'm talking about. But Planned Parenthood has become one of the chief cornerstones of the Democrat Party. And they always push this on minority communities. Why do you think that is? I can tell you now it has nothing to do with reproductive rights. This reproductive rights stuff is just ridiculous. No, it's about fulfilling Margaret Sanger's vision. Planned Parenthood is fulfilling Margaret Sanger's vision. The population growth in the black community has stagnated. It was a recent poll I was reading. This was during a diversity class that I had to take for work. And I'm not a big fan of diversity classes because I think they don't really teach diversity. They teach a certain point of view and tell you to line up or get out. But during this diversity class, they showed how the racial demographic is changing, how America's changing as far as landscape. You know what population from 1970 to from 2000 to they showed you what the population growth was in 2000 for the black community. They show you what it is in 2040. The population, from a demographic standpoint, percentage standpoint, is not projected to change at all. In the black community, our representation, our population is not projected to change in a 40-year period, which means our population is stagnated. They have stagnated our population. They've told us it's a woman's fundamental right to kill her unborn child, to terminate her pregnancy. That's a woman's fundamental right. It's a con. It's a farce. It's a farce. It's a lie. They deliberately push this stuff on minorities. They deliberately push this stuff on communities of color. The Democrat Party doesn't care about helping and protecting and saving the black community. It's nonsense. They have spent years telling us that our families, that family structure doesn't matter. They've pushed the welfare state on us, encouraged men to abandon their responsibilities as fathers, encouraged women to have as many children as possible without getting married, and marry the government. And then they want to push this abortion agenda on us. It's either you have a broken family or you don't have a family at all. Not because you just didn't want kids. So you were just using birth control or whatever, or you're just not interested in any form of sexual activity. No, it's because you keep terminating your pregnancy. For the Democrat Party, they've used the art of scamming people. They have used the art of deception. This has nothing to do with reproductive rights. The Democrat Party doesn't view the black community as fit to reproduce. They don't view us as fit to start a family, which is why they continue to encourage brokenness, fatherlessness. 75% of black children today are born out of wedlock. You want to talk about some systemic racism? See, people talk about there being systemic racism. Oh, I agree there's systemic racism. It's just not coming from the source that people think it's coming from. It's not coming from the Constitution. The Constitution is a fundamentally good document. Our founding documents are good documents. Okay? Which is why people always try to the left always wants to try to go back to the founding. If we could just change the founding principles, then we'll fix what's going on in these communities. The founding documents have nothing to do with it. That's not the problem. The problem is failed progressive policies. That's the problem. The Democrat Party runs our cities. They run these inner cities. They run these districts. They run them into the ground. But don't worry, though. The fastest way, the easiest way to make sure that you don't end up burdened as a black person, particularly as a black woman, is to exercise your reproductive rights. Not to get married and have children after you've gotten married. Nope, that's not the way you do it. Just go ahead, live your life. Just be sexually free. This is part of the reason why they push this whole sexual revolution. They know it leads to pain and misery. There's a reason why they push all this sexual activity in the black community and in communities of color. They push this stuff on purpose. They're trying to get us to have broken families and tell us, don't worry, you can always get an abortion. All this population control, all this deception, all these lies. Planned Parenthood was never created to help minorities. It was never created to help the black community. It was never created to help women. That's not what it was created for. Margaret Sanger's vision, the vision that she had for the black community, is very much active today. More black babies aborted in New York City than are born every year. Tens of millions of abortions in the black community over the last 50 years. You do realize our population right now is 42 million. I believe the number of abortions that's happened since 1970 in the black community was 40 million abortions. You're going to have to fact check that. I think it was an estimate. Let's just say it was 10 million, which I know it's more than that. Let's just say it was 10 million. You realize that that is 25% of our current population. %25. But don't worry, though. The Democrats are here to make sure your right to an abortion is protected, because now they've turned it into a right. That's what it is. It's a con man's game. They want control over the black community. This is what the Democrat Party has done for decades. Our cities are overrun with crime, gang violence, broken families, no jobs. Our school districts are horrible. But remember, though, Kamala Harris wants to get rid of charter schools. The Democrat platform is to get rid of school choice. So in other words, the Democrats are going to force us to go into a horrible public school system with no other options. Does this sound like freedom to you? Where's the freedom here? You know, for the pro-choice party, they sure are against giving people choices. The only choice you have is whether or not you can terminate your pregnancy. You can't choose where to send your kids to school. Now they want to push this gun restriction nonsense, which that's another story entirely when it comes to gun control. For those of you who don't know, gun control was used in the Southern Democrat states as a way to kill black people, particularly black Republicans who were voting for black Republican politicians in the South. Gun control was a way of them killing and assassinating black people. That is the earliest form of gun control that I've seen. Historically speaking, when it comes to this gun control, the very idea of gun control was used to kill blacks. That's another Democrat platform, removing guns from people's houses. You realize how much these Democrat policies have been shifted to mean something or to represent something other than what they were created for? Planned Parenthood, this abortion movement, was never created to help black people. It was created to murder black people. It was created to destroy our population growth. That's what that is what Planned Parenthood was created for, and that is the one of the chief cornerstones of the Democrat Party today. With all these people idolizing Margaret Sanger, who hated blacks. As I've said in my last video, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but my job with this, wherever this channel goes, my job with this is to inform you of what's going on here. The Democrats don't care about the black community. They care about controlling the black community, controlling the black vote, controlling the Hispanic vote, controlling the vote of women. It's divide and conquer. The art of Marxism. This divide and conquer, identity politics, all this stuff. They've used these things to lie and to con people. So when you go to vote, when you see these confirmation hearings of Amy Coney Barrett and how strongly the Democrat Party is fighting for Planned Parenthood, fighting for Roe v. Wade, fighting for the right to an abortion, remember these words that I've used. If you don't believe me, look at Margaret Sanger's quotes and see what she had to say about black people. And then ask yourself the question, well, if Margaret Sanger created this organization to kill black people, why is the Democrat Party pushing it so hard? Because it has, once again, it has nothing to do with reproductive rights. It's nothing to do with family planning, as they like to say. It's not about that. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about control. It's about control. It's about power. But I'm going to stop there. If y'all like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be doing more videos. We're 3 weeks out from the election, but I want to get I want to get this information out. We have to question why certain policies are being pushed. And you have many blacks who are saying enough is enough. Enough broken families, enough of these abortion clinics popping up all over the place in our communities. Enough of this control, enough of this, if you're debating between whether to vote for me or Trump, you ain't black nonsense. Enough is enough already. Enough is enough. I am a free thinker. I think for myself. And everyone else is capable of doing the same thing. So once again, you like this video, go ahead and click that like button, click the subscribe button. More videos will be coming out whenever I can get them out for y'all. But thank y'all for watching. Share this video. Let people know the truth about Planned Parenthood. Let people know that Planned Parenthood's very origins are based in racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. All right, y'all have a good night. See ya.